Howdy everyone, petedaddy here. Today I wanted to talk about starter squads in FIFA 21, and I mainly want to focus on the attributes you should be looking for as you scout through all the players, looking for those cheap OP meta cards that are just going to boss the game in FIFA 21. It's one of the favorite times of the year. And also, if you've got a starter team you want to submit to me for me to look at, send it to me on Twitter at peteDaddyFIFA. Check the description, join my Discord server. But I may do a video kind of highlighting some different starter squads. It may help us all out, get some discussion going on the best starter squads we can do. But let's just get right to it. And also subscribe down below, please. I would really appreciate it. But let me just show you the main attributes I look for in a card when I'm looking at them and what I think is going to be the most important in FIFA 21. And I'll kind of highlight the reasons why I think these are the most important. But number one is pace. And we could have said this for the last 10 FIFAs. We can say it for the next 50 FIFAs. Pace is always going to be one of the number one things you need to look for. It's why a card like Sergio Busquets, who has been a real-life epic player, has never really been a usable option in FIFA. It's why Toni Kroos this year is not going to be as good as some 80 rated card with better pace. Just pace, pace, pace. Pace is so important in FIFA, and you've got to have it in that usable range. And in my opinion, it almost, for attackers, has to be at least 80 plus if you're even then going to be able to boost it. For me personally on pace, and that's why I have acceleration listed first, I think acceleration is more important. I think overall in the game, those quick bursts of speed are more important than those long sprint speed runs. Now, sometimes with your wingers, they are going to be able to go on long runs and sprint speed may be more important. But generally, I want a player that can be standing here, make a quick burst into the box, or, you know, there more times or more often than not, acceleration is going to be more important. So if sometimes you see those weird spreads, I would rather see a spread where someone has 90 acceleration and 78 sprint speed than vice versa, 78 acceleration and 90 sprint speed, just because I think acceleration is more important. But pace, pace, pace is very important. The other thing is that it's cheaper to boost something else. So we'll take a look at some examples in a minute, but let's just say you have a starter card with 92 pace and 70 shooting. It's a lot cheaper to boost that 70 shooting up to a usable range than it is vice versa to have a player with 75 to 80 pace and then have to put a hunter on them or have to put a shadow or something like that. Now, you're not going to be able to avoid that, especially on center backs early. You're going to want to boost pace up on your center backs, so you may need to buy some expensive shadows, but hunters will be very expensive, and if you can avoid having to use chem styles on your players or those expensive chem styles on your players, and you're going to save coins that you can then use to buy better players later. So pace is the number one thing, and there's just not much more to say about that. It's been that way forever in FIFA, and I don't think that would ever change. Pace, pace, pace. Number two, this one is a change, and this one's based on my studying of the pitch notes, and we'll get to that in just a little bit, but I think positioning, which is both attack positioning for an offensive player and defensive awareness. So that's offensive positioning, attack positioning, and for defensive players, defensive awareness. There's been a huge emphasis this year on player personality, and we'll dive into that in a second, and also on jockeying, which I think is going to be very important. But let's take a look at that. I want to explain why I think these are going to be the most important things. So let me just bring this up over here. So if we go over here to the pitch notes, this is the pitch notes that EA put out. I've been reading through these. We're not getting a demo this year. What are you doing, EA? Why are you not giving us a demo? But if we look at this, one of the things that they're going to talk about is player personality. And if you look through these pitch notes on gameplay, they talk about player personality over and over and over again. But at the top up here, what they talk about is like on a through ball. It says in the past, the through ball was used as short or long passing. Now they're going to combine things. So it's short, long passing, it's vision and composure. So they're trying to make, you know how sometimes we've had players who maybe have like 95 short passing, but then they have 42 vision. You know, you just kind of have those weird spreads. And you're like, okay, well, the meaningful stats are good, but they're trying to make it now so someone maybe like Kevin De Bruyne is going to have better passing just because all of his passing stats are nice. So you're not just maybe necessarily looking for one or two things. You're looking for a multitude of things. So that's where they're going on the player personality. But let me show you where I think this is really going to be important. Let me scroll down here to positioning personality. They have a large section about attack positioning. And first, look at this example here. You can see, I believe that's Firmino, how he comes back. It's supposed to, the attack positioning is supposed to really impact your AI teammates. They're supposed to find that space. Now look through all of this stuff. So if we read right here, we want players who are tactically aware to have a bigger impact in FIFA by being in the right place at the right time to shoot, pass, or block the ball. So let's read through some of this type of stuff. So attacking, positioning, attribute, impact. So, and here's what I was talking about earlier, not meaning to go back, but positioning for attacking personality and defensive awareness for defensive personality. So that's what I was talking about. For your offensive players, we're going to be looking at attack positioning, defensive players, defensive awareness. But look at all this stuff, onside and offside runs. Before we look at this example, it says it will be overridden if you're using fast build up or get in behind. So we may not want to use get in behind this year. I don't know. We'll have to take a look at that. But it's supposed to be awareness to know when to slow down and time the run perfectly to stay on side. So look at this example that EA has given. Okay, so let me get back up here before it starts. Don't look at this one. So get ready. Look at this low positioning. You have a guy just keeps running offside. The high positioning player stops his run, waits for the pass, then goes onside. So, I mean, that is a huge difference. And like I said, this is presented from EA, what they say will impact the game. So attack positioning may be one of the most important things to look for this year. Based on everything I'm reading and seeing, I think attack positioning is going to be a crucial thing. So we'll talk about that a little bit more, but let's keep going through this. So passer readiness runs, understanding of when the ball possessor is ready to make a pass, decision-making time and intelligence, the ability to make faster and accurate decisions on where and when to move. Higher positioning attribute players will decide where to move quicker and smarter. Passing lane analysis. These behaviors will only happen when a player has a very high positioning attribute. To open up space, ability to create separation. I mean, this stuff is huge. I mean, it's looking like all of these things, it looks like they're based on attack positioning. So that is going to be so key. Ideal crossing positioning, fake runs in the box, chance creation support. So lots of different things based on positioning. And one thing I wanted to point out, let me find this right here. Read this. This means that an attribute of 85 attack positioning they're talking about might feel good and have a pronounced effect, but 90 is significantly better and 99 is exponentially superior. So they're talking about if you have a 99 attack positioning player, that he may just be bossing the game, able to do all these AI types of things, all these runs, all these different things that they're focusing on. So that's why, to me, attack positioning is very important. Now let's look on the defensive side on the ball. Here's where they talk about where the defensive awareness attribute kicks in. Run tracking, two-man marking. I won't read through every detail, but defensive midfielder tracking, defensive midfielder cutting passing lanes, active versus passive winger behaviors, fullback cooperation. So, I mean, just like fullbacks with a high defensive awareness attribute are more effective defending runs. And they give an example here of like where someone is like tracking runs. That's where a fullback actually looks like this fullback cuts off from his winger and takes the ball away. So this defensive awareness for defenders and attack positioning for attackers is going to be key. So as you look for your starter players, that may be something to kind of differentiate. So if you have someone that's got an 80 attack positioning versus 85 attack positioning, and they're very similar elsewhere, then that 85 attack positioning may make a huge deal for you. Now, it may be the most important for your players in the middle. For example, if you play a 4-2-3-1, like your striker and your cam, maybe their central cam may be the most important, where your wide cams, you maybe can get away with just a pacey player. You know, you're mostly just asking them to make runs up and down the wing. So you may be okay with that, but I just want to stress that it looks like attack positioning and defensive awareness are very, very key this year. So let's get back over here. And then the number 3 thing that I think is going to be the most important this year is agility. And it's because there's a focus on agile dribbling this year. And just in any FIFA, agility helps your movement. It helps you make those movements faster. And it hasn't been as big of a deal until FIFA 20. FIFA 20 was one of the first FIFAs where agility was so important. So I don't know if it'll be quite as important, but I know they've got a stress on agile dribbling for FIFA 21. And let's take a look at that. Like again, so if we go back to our pitch notes over here, let's scroll back up. One of the first things they mention is agile dribbling, which is a brand new way to keep close control of the ball in FIFA 21. So it's going to take a lot of the dribbling attributes there, and you hold R1, RB while moving the left stick. So and it says, however, the higher a player's dribbling, agility, reactions, and ball control, the quicker, more precise, and better they will be at keeping the ball at their feet. So just to reiterate, the most important attributes I'm looking for: pace, positioning, and agility. Those are the 3 most important things, in my opinion, on what you should be looking for at your players. So let's put that to the test. Let's look through a couple players. We'll just look at on Footband for some of the most popular players. So if we go over to Footband, let me just reload it here. Just look at who is popular, who people are looking at. So like Dembele, an option I've definitely been looking at, but let's put him to the test. So let's look at his pace. 93 acceleration, 92 sprint speed, absolutely beautiful at the beginning of the game. In my opinion, you don't need to boost that, but you certainly could give him a hawk. You could give him an engine. He doesn't need that like hunter boost because you would waste some of your pace points there, but in my opinion, I probably wouldn't even boost them. So now let's talk about how you can boost them to the max. So if I see his attack positioning is 77. One of the things that boosts positioning by 15 points is Deadeye. Now, I am assuming that Deadeye is going to be the same. I haven't seen it on Footband updated yet, how Chem Styles will impact the stats. It's been plus 15 to attack positioning for a while, but I don't know if they're going to change it to make it harder to boost positioning this year. I really don't know how that's going to go, but I'm going to assume that Deadeye will still boost positioning by 15. But if I look at Dembele, I see there his positioning is going from 77 to 92 with a Deadeye, and I would probably go Deadeye. So that would take his attack positioning to 92, which is very usable. His agility is at 89. And then you can start looking at the other things. Now, one thing I should point out, people, this has been put out there for a while. The skill moves are messed up in the database right now. Dembele will not be 2-star skill moves. I don't know if he's been confirmed as 5-star skill moves again, but just know that the skill moves are messed up on Footband, so that hasn't been corrected yet. He is not 2-star skill moves. I'm not for sure he's 5-star yet, but he may be. So again, that's what I'm looking at. But let me show you someone that's maybe kind of interesting. This is someone I'm really looking at on my starter team. Cedric Bakambu. He is a Chinese Super League legend for starter teams. But look at what I'm seeing right here. His attack positioning is 84. His finishing is 84. That means if I put a Deadeye on Bakambu, his attack positioning goes from 84 to 99. And remember, we're talking about in the pitch notes that it said that 99 attack positioning is exponentially superior. So I am dying to try out someone with 99 attack positioning. It seems like there may be a big difference from 90 to 99. So, Dembele was going to be 92 attack positioning. This Bakambu would be 99 attack positioning. So that's something. Plus, he has solid agility for someone who's 6 foot tall. I mean, you've got to look at all the other stats. If Tony Kroos was going to be, I hate to keep picking on Tony Kroos, but they just killed him on his pace. Let me just bring him up right here. You can see here he's got 54 pace. There's really nothing you can put on Tony Kroos to make him usable. So even if his attack positioning was 90, basically if every other stat on this card was just 99s and the pace was acceleration 57, sprint speed 52, it would still be very hard to use them in game. So that's just how important pace is overall. So don't just let the attack positioning change you away from the pace and the agility. It's a lot. It's a couple other factors there too. Just weigh all these factors in there together. But let's go back into our to our Footband most popular. Let's look at someone like Mason Greenwood. What is he showing? They don't have his actual stats there. I didn't realize that. Most of them now do have the stats out there, but Greenwood does not have his stats yet. Let's take a look at someone. This Everton card, a lot of people have been looking at this one. And now this is one that's been very interesting to me as well, because look where his attack positioning is. 83. Now, he may need a little bit of pace because he's in that 89, 84. And remember, Dembele was like 93, 92, so he's not quite as fast as Dembele. But I would still love to try a deadeye on him to make his attack positioning 98. And again, with the deadeye, it's plus 15 to attack positioning. So that's just one thing I think of when I look at a card like this. So that's another one. And just going to be very, very important. Let's look at Ben Yedder, been OP for so long. Look at his attack positioning, 90. Now, with an attack positioning like 90, you could maybe put something else on Ben Yedder, like a Hunter works really well on Ben Yedder because that makes his pace up there to that OP level. So with a Hunter, you get plus 10 acceleration, plus 10 sprint speed, plus a boost to positioning. So Ben Yedder may be perfect for there because he's already got that. Plus, look at that agility, 91 agility. 5-star weak foot. So Ben Yedder is still going to be an OP card. There's one other thing I want to show you on this pitch notes that looked very important to me. Let me just go through go through this here. Okay, yeah, right here. So this is another reason, the defensive awareness. They didn't really talk about this up here, but jockey acceleration, deceleration. Players with a lower defensive awareness attribute have a reduced jockey effectiveness in order to encourage jockeying with actual defenders. So what this means is, say that you put Ben Yedder as your cam. Just for instance, you probably put him as a striker, but we're right here on Ben Yedder. And typically in a 4-2-3-1, you would ask your cam to maybe do some sort of defending, when your opponent is first. When your opponent is first, like countering you, you're going to kind of try to stop them with your line of cams, then your CDMs. And sometimes what happens is people take their strikers and their cams and bring them back. I mean, it's effective. I can't say I don't do it or haven't done it. It's just an effective means. But they've changed this now. So if you use someone like Ben Yedder with 34 defensive awareness, he's not really going to be able to jockey good. So that's going to have a big impact on that. So it may mean, I don't know, we'll have to see how this plays out. And this maybe isn't the perfect example, but this just came to mind. It may mean someone like Roberto Firmino, who kind of has some attacking ability, but also has some defense. So maybe someone like him becomes more valuable as a cam. I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking out loud right now. I don't know for sure, but it may mean someone like Firmino, who has that attacking plus a little bit of defensive, may be better overall as your cam. I don't know. We'll just kind of have to play around with that once we get into the game. But if you look at the usual suspects, someone like Conte, whose defensive awareness is already at 89. And the great thing is, Shadow Chem Styles and Anchor Chem Styles boost defensive awareness by 10. So that would make Conte's defensive awareness 99. So that can make him even more OP with an AI defender. So I think that's going to be very, very important. So Conte is looking really good. Let's look at someone like, let's just look at Sissoko, our OP Sissoko from FIFA 20. His defensive awareness is 76. Now, the great thing about Sissoko is he's very likely you want to put a shadow on him. Now, his agility is not great. I'm just kind of talking out loud on this one. So, if you put a shadow on Sissoko, it makes his acceleration 85, sprint speed 94, and would make his defensive awareness 86. But you can see the difference there in using Sissoko with 86 boosted defensive awareness versus Conte with 99 defensive awareness. Let's look at someone else, the new Everton man. Let's look at Allen. I don't know if he has an Everton card yet. I think he still his Napoli card. His defensive awareness is 87, so even this 83 rated Allen may be an amazing option. The other thing I love about him, you see that he's got that acceleration of 77. His sprint speed is a little bit slower, but for a CDM, that's what you want. You want them to be able to make those, they see the passing lane, make that quick burst into the passing lane. And if you put a shadow on Allen, it would be 92 acceleration, 79 sprint speed, defensive awareness would be 97. So this Allen card I think is going to be really strong. The one thing I worry about now that he's in the Premier League, he may be more pricey than what he's worth. I don't know for sure. But let's take a look at someone else while we're thinking of Everton midfielders. What about Doucouré? So Doucouré for defensive awareness is only 76, so there may be a big difference. Let's just do a filter on that real quick. I just want to kind of take a look. Let's look at some of the CDMs that maybe have, let me go position, CDM. I want to change my version to all goals. So, I mean, these are, again, the types of things you want to be thinking of as you go through this. So I want to check on here. It's called marking. That's what it used to be called. But let's look at all the midfielders that have 85 plus marking. So we're talking about Conte. So look at how few. This is the first time I've actually done this search. So this is kind of eye-opening here. Look at how many gold midfielders have plus 85 defensive awareness. There are not many. So these may be some of the ones I really look at. Like Matuidi has been one I've really taken a look at. Let me just open this in a new tab. What's going on in the MLS? Let me just get rid of this here a second. If you could somehow link Matuidi and Iko Para, that may be a pretty OP starting point. I really like Matuidi. I haven't fully figured out exactly how I'm going to do it because it's still hard to get Matuidi linked with the MLS, even though you can go for some French stuff. So that may be something you can do. I've taken a look at that. I haven't fully figured that out yet, but take a look at someone like Iko Para. I know we're going off in other tangents here. We don't have all of his stats out here, but he's got the pace. He's going to have good movement. So Iko Para is always a great center back. And players from the lower divisions are always cheaper, you know, the Premier League players. So when we look at this lineup here, you know, Conte is going to be crazy expensive for a long time. Not saying he's not going to be worth it. I think he will be. Busquets, look at his pace. Not worth it. Don't even look at him. And Didi may be one I really take a look at. I haven't even, honestly, this is the first time I've looked at this. And Didi may be one I really take a look at. Let's see what his movement is. His agility is a little bit low. I would like that to be a little bit higher, but he is slightly taller, so he'd be a little bit more of a presence. But if you put a shadow on Ndidi, he would be 85 acceleration, 82 sprint speed with 97 defensive awareness. So if that is going to be one of the most important things this year, this may be your OP CDM filter right here. And I didn't even know Matuidi was. Matuidi is one I love because his movement is amazing. 83 agility. So this is kind of convincing me I need to find a way to get Matuidi into my starter squad because he's not going to be super expensive. I mean, you can maybe what I'll need to do is just link him into a French team and I might have to leave Opara behind, unfortunately. But Matuidi may be one I really want to fit in there because with a shadow, 91 acceleration, 85 sprint speed, 95 defensive awareness. So that looks like a really strong card. Along with the Allen, the Aaron guys just doesn't have the pace. But like I said, this may be your OP CDM grouping right here if the defensive awareness and attack positioning are as important as I say. But I just wanted to share this with you guys. Let me just bring that up one more time. But the most important things I'm looking for, again, pace. Pace. Nothing is still. Like we said, we saw Sergio Busquets over there. He could have 8,000 defensive awareness. We're still not going to use them. So pace, number one. Positioning. For your offensive players, you're looking at attack positioning. Defensive players, defensive awareness. And then number three, agility. But anyways, boys, this is going to wrap it up. Definitely, if you'd like to, send me your starter squads. I'll try to feature them in a video. Follow me on Twitter at petedaddyFIFA. Join the Discord and make sure to subscribe. But I'll see you guys soon. Bye.